freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 500, right, of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by Pot of Gold Estate Auctions, pogauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, coins, jewelry, antiques, collectibles, you name it. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is service, sacrifice, and defending the Second Amendment, and our guest is Alan West. He's retired. U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Alan West is the chairman of the Second Amendment Institute. Lieutenant Colonel West is a Christian constitutional conservative, combat veteran, and former member of the U.S. Congress. His life has been defined as one of service, sacrifice, and commitment to the Republic of the United States of America. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be with both of you all. Thank you, and congratulations on your 500th episode.
Absolutely. And it's funny because there was no way to pre-plan this, but as we were narrowing in on 500, I was like, I am definitely going to have my friend, Colonel Alan West, be number 500.
What an honor.
Oh, it's an honor for us. And it's an honor for me to get to serve alongside you and our other amazing board members in the Second Amendment Institute. And that is something that I really want to kind of kick the show off with, is to talk about that 10th anniversary of that organization and a big gala that we have planned. Can you kind of fill in the gaps for us on that?
Yeah, sure. It's been an incredible 10 years. SAI, Second Amendment Institute, is not one of these huge, large NRA or GOA type of apparatuses, but it is really small and focused. And Tyler Izaguirre, who is the executive director, what he really wanted to do and why I got started 10 years ago, and I was there for their opening event, was to bring the Second Amendment issue onto college and university campuses, because as you know, it was a big thing about campus carry back some time ago, and we've seen some progress on that issue on many college and university campuses. And what Tyler also wanted to do, because he was a recent graduate coming out of the University of Delaware, was to get more young people engaged and involved in understanding the Second Amendment. And I think that's really important because, just recently we saw the young lady, Sheridan Gorman, 18 years of age, a student at Loyola University in Chicago, who lost her life just going out for a walk with some friends. A criminal illegal immigrant came up and shot her to death. Now, what's interesting about that, Cheryl, is here is a young woman, a young American woman, a freshman in college. And in the state of Illinois, they are telling her that she doesn't have that ability, that right, and definitely in the city of Chicago, to be able to have a firearm. But yet someone that was here criminally, illegally, and had been deported twice, somehow he gets a firearm and takes her life away. So I think it's so important that we bring that issue up to young people. And so for us to have this 10th anniversary gala up there in Washington, D.C. in the 250th year of America's independence, I think it's just going to be fantastic. We're going to have two recipients to get the Defender of Freedom 2A award, and that is Lieutenant General Mike Flynn and also United States Senator Joni Ernst, who is also a colonel, if I'm correct, in the Iowa National Guard. Maybe she is retired, but she did achieve the rank of colonel in the Iowa National Guard. So I think it's important that we talk about those people that took the oath to support and defend the Constitution, and that's where you find the Second Amendment.
Wow, that is so important. All that you've said there, that the whole college campus thing. I was a full-grown adult with two houses, a business, a husband, a daughter when I started college. So this whole idea that people always want to say, well, college kids shouldn't have access to firearms and any kind of self-defense tool on campuses is such a misnomer right out of the gate. And I went to school in urban areas. I went to school in rural areas over the course of, starting and then going through to my master's degree. And there were many times I was in parking garages late at night, and there were times that, very not safe areas that I was in the course of getting to campus and then becoming on campus. And in a state like Arizona, we have constitutional carry. So I'm totally legal as until I cross that imaginary line of the sidewalk, right,
Mhm.
onto the campus. And then suddenly I can be breaking the law if I'm just simply carrying the tools of self-defense that young lady you mentioned could have made all the difference for her.
Yeah, it's absolutely asinine. You think about it, or you think about Laken Riley, the student at the University of Georgia who was out jogging. She was killed by a criminal illegal immigrant. But you bring up a great point. I thought that the Second Amendment, as part of the United States Constitution, was the law of the land, and so I find it quite perplexing that people can draw out these little Second Amendment or constitutional no-go zones that says, oh, when you cross over this sidewalk or you come onto this piece of property, you lose a constitutional right. And what is so interesting about it, if you look at some of these college and university campuses, you have some of these young people that may be 18, 19, or 20, and guess what? They're members of a National Guard. They're being entrusted by this country to carry a weapon and be able to go out and provide defense of this great nation. Or you could even have, like you say, some of these young ladies that are told they can't defend themselves. And many of these campuses are open and they don't have the ability to be able to defend themselves. I was at the University of Michigan speaking on this issue about campus carry a few years back. And the University of Michigan, open campus. And guess what? Their campus police aren't authorized to carry weapons. And so, if something happens, now you have to worry about the response time of the Ann Arbor police. And, I remember being in firefights in the military, and in the first 3 to 5 seconds, someone's going to lose their life. Think about it when the response time is what, 3 to 4 to 5 minutes? That's not what we should be doing. And so we should not have our young people being able to be openly preyed upon, especially on these open campuses like you see now. They're not gated. Anybody can drive in, walk in, what have you. And we saw that also, I believe, in Rhode Island. Providence, Rhode Island, when the guy came onto the campus and, attempted to shoot up that campus as well. And a young lady lost her life.
Alan, I've seen some states like Utah now, they allow open carry. I mean, carrying on the campus.
Mhm.
And I think about this lady that was in Illinois. If there was a law that says that you could carry a gun, even if she didn't want to carry a gun, it might have stopped the criminal from bringing the gun on campus because he doesn't know who is carrying and who's not carrying. So you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to carry, but we are seeing some. Are you seeing it too? Is there more colleges that are opening up to carrying?
Well, you see that we got that passed in Texas, but of course there are some of those private institutions that will say we're a private institution, we don't have to follow that. And again, even if you're private, does that mean that you can override a person's constitutional rights? I
Right.
think that you lose that ability. And if you're saying that you're going to provide security to someone, well, then I want to make sure that my security is provided wherever I go, and I don't think
Hmm.
that they're able to do that. What you just brought up, Don, right?
Dan, it's
Dan,
Dan. It's okay.
what you just brought up is what we call deterrence. When people know that there's a possibility that there is a credible deterrent as part of that equation, then yes, they're very careful. But when you create these gun-free zones, as we hear them called, then guess what? Criminals don't pay attention to laws,
Right.
regulations, rules, or what have you. We just saw it also at the Old Dominion University, where someone who should have been deported from this country for supporting ISIS, he was released early from his prison sentence. He goes onto the campus of Old Dominion University, walks into a classroom, and I taught ROTC at Kansas State University. He walks into a classroom. He asks if this is an Army ROTC classroom, then commits to shouting Allahu Akbar, and a retired Army lieutenant colonel loses his life. Now, thank God, the cadets that were there, they did what the cadets were supposed to do. They rendered him combat ineffective, which means they killed him.
Mm-hmm. Right. Awesome.
Combat
So,
ineffective.
if I could
That's
ask
a new
you,
phrase for me.
you know, you've been everywhere. You've been in battle. You're a lieutenant colonel. When did you start believing in the Constitution and the rights of people to be able to carry guns? I mean, how did that all come about?
Well, I mean, you believe in it on 31 July 1982 when you take that oath at the University of Tennessee to support and defend the Constitution. It's a maturation process that you go through. I mean, you know, that was 44 years ago. I was nowhere near as smart as I am, and I'm still not that smart even at 65. But you learn more about the Constitution. You learn more about the history of the Second Amendment and why it is there. You learn that the Second Amendment is an active right because it's there to protect the passive rights that you see in the First Amendment. Because if you don't have a Second Amendment, guess what? There's no deterrent from a tyrannical government to come in and take away those passive rights of the First Amendment. And that's the lesson that our founding fathers learned some 250 years ago when the British were marching inland toward Concord, Massachusetts to destroy a weapons and armaments factory that was supplying the Sons of Liberty. Because if you want to be free, if you want to have liberty, if you want to have individual rights, guess what? If you're armed, you can be a citizen. You can have those things. If you're disarmed, you're subject. And you're just subject to what someone else is saying. And throughout history, again, what you have seen is that any totalitarian, dictatorial, tyrannical regime, the first thing they do is they take away the ability of people to defend themselves. They take away that deterrent to them having complete and absolute power and control over the populace.
Right. I mean, look at what's happening in Iran right now, and that's recent. This is right now. How many people were slaughtered just because they didn't believe in the way the government was running?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
And you saw that 19-year-old young man who was hung
Yes.
because, you know, here in the United States of America, guess what? We have a right to petition our government for redress of grievances. That's the First Amendment right. But guess what? When there's no Second Amendment right, then the government can just come down and say, you shouldn't have been out there protesting against us. Even though you're a national hero, you've been an incredible wrestler, we're going to take you out, we're going to hang you, to make an example. Or you look at Hugo Chavez. When Hugo Chavez came into power in Venezuela, one of the first things he did was take away private gun ownership. And the next thing you know, people are out there being starved to death, and he had power and control over them. That's what communism does. That's what Marxism does. And sadly, today we see that Marxist ideology here in the United States of America, because why do you think the left in America, they want to disarm Americans and they want to make it easier for whatever reason for Islamic jihadists and criminal illegal immigrants to take our lives?
Control. You know, they say it can never happen in the United States, but look how much our Constitution's already deteriorated.
Yes.
Because there's congressmen that swear to the Constitution that aren't following the Constitution. There's law enforcement that's not following the Constitution. There's military that's not following it.
Yeah.
So it can happen in the United States because it's starting to happen already.
No, you're absolutely right. It is happening. And let's not say it can happen. It is happening in the United States. I'm going to give you a great case in point. Senator Tim Kaine, I want you to think about this. The senator from the state of Virginia, the state that gave us the author of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America. Tim Kaine was formerly a governor of the state of Virginia. He was a hair's breadth away from being the vice president of the United States of America. Well, last year, in the fall of last year, 2025, he said that your rights do not come from God. He said your rights come from government. Now, this is a United States senator, a guy who's been a governor, a guy who ran to be the vice president, and he is standing there saying that your rights don't come from the Creator God, which is enshrined in our Declaration of Independence. So it is happening, and people are saying these things, and we need to have, as you said, Cheryl, an informed and educated electorate that can be activated to say, time out on the court here. You can't do that. Or when you see people that are out there saying, like in Virginia. Well, you can't have this assault weapon. Look, I can take a pencil. John Wick took a pencil and he killed someone. Anything could be used
Right.
as an assault weapon. But what
Right.
they're trying to do is associate it with a firearm. And to say that you can only have a magazine with X amount of bullets, right over your shoulder there, it says shall not be infringed. That's some pretty simple English language. Even a dumb Southern boy that used to jump out of airplanes can understand it. That means you don't do it. And so we are seeing these rights being infringed upon. And yes, we're seeing, even sadly, some law enforcement officers who are putting their ideological agenda above what they're supposed to be doing, which is enforcing the law, which means the Second Amendment, which is part of our rule of law.
Yes.
Absolutely. And the way that the other side appeals to us is they always say, it's for the children, it's
Mm.
for your safety, right? And for me, I own these tools of self-defense because I have a child and I have grandchildren. And
Yes,
I need to protect me so that I can protect them. And
correct.
for us to fall in line and just do the mindless head bob that, oh yes, if we can just get rid of all these guns, then everyone will be safe and free. Why can't we look at what history has shown us in places where Marxism and communism and Nazism have come up? And the first thing, as you said, that they take away is that ability for the individual to protect their individual lives. What is that disconnect? What do you make of that?
Well, the disconnect is what we've talked about, power and control. Australia is one of the most gun control, wacky places around. So how is it that, a couple of gentlemen were able to get firearms and go out there and just shoot up a beach, where I'm sure there were children. So
Yes.
was it the fault of those people who said, okay, we'll surrender our right to be able to protect ourselves? Because again, people with evil intentions and criminals, they don't care about rules, regulations, and laws. They will carry out what they want to carry out. And what did you see in response from the prime minister there in Australia was to say that we need to be tighter on gun control legislation, not saying that we need to do more and making sure that militant Islamists are not able to go out there and do what these guys did as they shouted Allahu Akbar, just the same as the guy who should have been, I think his name was Muhammad Jola, who shot the ROTC instructor at Old Dominion University. He should have been deported. But how
Mhm.
is it that the guy who had a felony offense of supporting ISIS ends up getting a firearm? Well, we came to find out. He purchased from that firearm from a person that had stole that firearm. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with legal law-abiding gun owners. It has everything to do with criminals. And I think
Mhm.
that what the left does not want to admit is that, they can create all the laws that they want.
Mhm.
That's not going to stop crime.
Right.
And
Well,
they're creating laws and then letting the people that break these laws
Go
do it
free.
again and do it again so that
Yeah.
they have something to fight about. They just keep on. In other words, if it enforced the laws that we have on
mhm.
criminals, then we wouldn't need more gun laws.
No,
Right.
you're absolutely right. I mean, think about, we talk about this whole thing about assault weapons. How many people, and I'm sure you guys remember this, when we saw the camera footage, the video footage of members of Trinidad, a Venezuelan crime gang, these men were here illegally, going through an apartment building in Aurora,
Mm.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, a place where, you're not supposed to be able to have these quote unquote assault weapons. But how is it that people can come here illegally and be a member of a gang and have these weapons and freely going through apartment buildings? And if you remember when J.D. Vance had an interview with Martha Raddatz on ABC, what did Martha Raddatz say? It's just a couple of apartment buildings. That's how they dismiss it. Okay. That's this mentality that says, we have situational ethics. If something goes against our ideological agenda, it's bad. But if
Mhm.
something is aligned within our ideological agenda, criminal, illegal immigrants coming into the country having weapons, it's okay. We don't
Mhm.
care because the bottom line is that they care less about the safety and security of American
Mhm.
citizens. They care less about us being able to protect ourselves. And oh, by the way, That's my individual responsibility, as you just articulated, Cheryl, to protect my life, my liberty, my property. It is not something that we completely cede over to government. Yes, we
Mhm.
have law enforcement and things of that nature, but I can't carry a police officer on my hip. Okay. Police officer does not stay in my house 24/7. So guess whose responsibility it is? It is mine.
Right.
Boy, exactly. And, you know, the other side always talks out of both sides of their mouth. They're like, if it saves just one life, right? But then, oh, it's just a couple of apartment buildings and, you know, just a few people being inconvenienced
Mhm.
by, you know, these thugs, you know, running through rampant through their hallways. And it never makes sense. But somehow, if they can just appeal to our heart, we turn our brains off. And I know that, you know, having a voice like yours out there, and especially being, you know, part of a group like the Second Amendment Institute, that is so impactful to help people who do want their brains turned on, who do want to really wrestle with the tension between, you know, the heart and the mind.
Mhm.
I'm so thankful that you are out there. You're speaking all the time. I think you're traveling right now to do a speaking event.
Yeah.
It looks like you're in a hotel room.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice hotel room. It certainly beats a pup tent. So and I got a roof and I got indoor plumbing, so you can't beat
A
that.
little bit of air conditioning.
I
Yeah.
got air
So,
conditioning, I got heat. I mean, this is a good life for a soldier. But yeah,
right.
you got to get out. We've got to message properly. And I know that the left, as you just articulate, they want to go back to Sandy Hook and things of this nature. But think about it, Sandy Hook. Here is a woman who had firearms in her home, unsecured, and she had a mentally disturbed son.
Hmm.
Okay, that's that level of individual responsibility
Hmm.
also that you need to make sure that you're doing what is right. And maybe we should have some type of stipulations if you are bringing guns into a home that has someone with that type of mental issues. Because on the 4473 form, it asks, do you have mental issues? It asks, are you under, the taking marijuana and things of this nature? It asks all of these different questions. And you're supposed to truthfully respond to those questions, unless you're Hunter Biden. You can lie about, the drug use and everything. Nothing happens to you, even though it's supposedly a felony offense. But we have all of these things in place. But even when you look at the shooting that happened at Sutherland Springs, Texas, the church shooting, guess what? The person that committed that act, that heinous act, he was convicted of crimes in the Air Force, but the Air Force didn't upload his record into the
Right.
NICS system.
Right.
And so he was able to go out. You look at what happened down in Uvalde, Texas. Here's a young man that is staying in his home with his grandparents. His grandfather had a felony record. You're
Mm.
not supposed to have weapons in the household with a felony, a felon. And that's the address that this young man put down on his 4473. Talk about red flags. Where were the red flags then? And so we have these things in place that instead of looking and saying that's what the problem is, no, it's the Todd family, it's
Hmm.
Allen West, it's all the legal law-abiding gun owners out there. You're the problem because you're in the way of us having power and control
Hmm.
over your
Right.
lives. And they will step over and they will, use any tragedy, like Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. That's who
Hmm.
these people are.
Yeah. Well,
Boy,
Alan, if
exactly.
if the police come to my house and ask me if I have any assault weapons, I could truthfully tell them I have none.
Yeah.
I don't have an assault weapon in my
Because our
house.
weapons don't
They're not even
assault.
weapons. I don't even have.
Right.
They're not even weapons. They are my
Firearms.
my firearms,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just, it's sad. We are kind of backwards, aren't we?
Yeah,
This
we
whole thing.
are. And I tell you, Cheryl and I, we had that discussion in our last board meeting. We've got to be very good with language
Mm.
because the left can take things, patient protection and Affordable Care Act. Yeah, right. They're so affordable, we have to keep giving subsidies. And so
Yeah.
they have taken this thing called assault weapons and they have, cast this shadow upon a firearm. That's
Yeah.
Hmm.
it. And
Right.
and they're trying to make it into, this boogeyman thing. When, like I said, a knife can be classified as assault weapon. Does that mean that I can't have knives in my
Right.
home or a hammer or anything that can be used to hurt another individual, to assault another individual? Look, my mom used to take a belt and she used to assault me with a belt. Okay, so I mean, should we ban belts? I mean,
Right.
but it's that absurdity, and we have got to take back the narrative. We got to take back the language, and we've got to stop using the monikers that they use to
Yeah.
describe who we are and what we are.
Boy, you're
So
exactly right.
there's a new one I just learned today, convertible guns.
Convertible pistols
And
is
they're
how they're
the
referring to
Glock.
Does it
The
have a
Glocks.
Glock.
roof on it?
Yeah.
I know.
They're
Seriously.
saying because which any gun can be converted or
Mhm.
modified, but they're calling them convertible guns. And so California's banning the Glock, the older Glocks, and I guess Connecticut is trying to work on one today. They're trying to work on one to ban the convertible Glocks,
You
and they're
know,
not
isn't it
convertible.
interesting? If the founding fathers were around right now, they would just be scratching their heads.
They would have the belt,
They would be
right?
slapping some
They would
people for
be
sure.
the
Yeah,
ones with the belt like your mom
Yeah,
yeah,
because we all need a little SWATC. I'm telling you.
yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's incredible. So obviously now all of a sudden, if I get a firearm and I put, a red light on it, it's converted.
right.
I mean, how silly is that?
It's
Or,
so silly.
why is it, again, suppression, noise suppressors, that helps with our hearing. But all of a sudden, this is a really bad thing. I don't know. It's just so perplexing. But this is what happens when we don't teach our Constitution. We don't talk about the
Mhm.
Constitution. And again, we allow the other side to dictate the narrative and to define the terms.
It's
Yeah.
so
And we're
true.
sitting on the couch. I'm sorry. We're sitting on the couch. We're doing nothing. We're voting these people in that are thinking the way they're thinking, and they don't believe in the Constitution, and they like the convenient Constitution. They don't like the whole
Living
Constitution.
Constitution.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
So it can just be changed at a whim. And I think that even the assimilation of people that have come into our nation, that's even an issue because if we don't have a shared history and some
They're
degree
not
of
assimilating.
exactly,
They're not assimilating. I
when did
mean,
that
some are. So
right?
some are. I tell you, I lived in South Florida, and you have a lot of people that came from Cuba and some other Caribbean country, and they know what it was like in those places, and they just want to shake their heads. Or you talk to people that lived in Eastern Europe, who back in the day behind the Iron Curtain, and most kids now you say the Iron Curtain, they think it's a rock band or something like
yeah,
that. But
That's true.
but we've got to talk to people. We got to get more of these people out there
Hmm.
that can share these stories about this is what we lived under. This is why we came here to the United States of America. Now you're trying to fall for the same ideologies. No, we don't want that.
right.
And
Hmm.
so again, it's sad that in the public school education, which of course the first person to ever talk about state control of education was Karl Marx. It's
Hmm.
point number 10 in his 10 planks of Marxism and communism, and you can read it in the Communist Manifesto. And so this has been a long-term coming. Like Chairman Mao said, it's the long, slow march, what we have
Hmm.
seen happen. And one of the themes that I am trying to share with people, think about what America was at our bicentennial
Hmm.
50 years ago,
Hmm.
1976,
Hmm.
and the things we're contending with today at our 250th. I mean, that's how fast it can happen. That's why, it could happen. No, it is happening. And we've got to get people to understand that. And that's not, sounding like a wacko, and that's not being a conspiracy theorist. This is really happening in our country.
How many
Absolutely.
rights have we lost since the 70s? So many. I mean, the laws that they're creating, they're all against what our Constitution is, and we're
Absolutely.
letting it do it. We're letting them do it.
Oh, well, leadership does make a difference. And if, you just ask the average person on the street, what do you know about Lieutenant Colonel Alan West? I think the word leadership would be the first thing
You're very
to
kind.
come to mind. Yeah, it's absolutely the truth. You are so humble all the time about these things. But, you come from four generations of
Yeah.
military service.
Wow.
And I mean, I can't even imagine, the kind of the weight on your shoulders as you were stepping on top of the shoulders of the giants in your own family. But how did that legacy shape your leadership style and
Oh,
your
wow.
commitment to defending our constitutional principles?
Oh, it's everything. My dad was a World War II veteran. My older brother was a Vietnam War veteran. Everybody's got a black sheep in the family. He was a Marine. All the rest of us were Army. Uh, my dad challenged me at the age of 15 to be the first officer in the family because he and my older brother were enlisted. So I started wearing a uniform in high school, junior ROTC, and there you're exposed to these incredible men like Lieutenant Colonel Pagonis, Major Heredia, Sergeant First Class McMichael, Master Sergeant Buchanan, high school junior ROTC instructors who were Korean and Vietnam War veterans. So they were always around me and teaching me about leadership. And then I go to the University of Tennessee, and there you have your ROTC instructors, and you continue to learn about leadership. And as I said, in 1982, I was commissioned as an officer and spent 22 years. And I remember when my nephew was there at my change of command when I accepted command of a battalion in the 4th Infantry Division. And he was a cadet at North Georgia Military Academy, and he said he wanted to be an artillery officer and a paratrooper like me. And so that's the fourth generation. But my father-in-law, my wife's dad, did 2 combat tours in Vietnam. He's buried in Arlington National Cemetery, and my godfather was a Tuskegee Airman. So
Oh,
when you
wow.
have those type of men around you, it shapes you, and that's
Mm,
why I see another thing that the left has done. They've broken down the family. And,
mm,
especially in the Black community, where
mm,
when I grew up, you had, 73 to 75% two-parent household in the Black community. And I grew up in Atlanta. Today, that number's down to like 24%. And so you think about it, if my dad had not been there to sit me down on the steps of his house in Atlanta, Georgia, back in 1975, to talk to me about being an officer, where would I be today?
mm.
And so, when I look at 1976, when I talked about 50 years ago, being at 15, that's when I started, pursuing that to become an officer in the United States Army, which meant that I would take the same oath that my dad took to support and defend the Constitution, even though he took that oath at a time when this country did not see him as equal to others. He
Mm.
understood how important it was to serve and to sacrifice to this great nation.
Alan, did your dad get to see you become a lieutenant colonel?
No, he didn't. Sadly, my
Mm.
dad only saw my initial commissioning because I was promoted to first lieutenant in Italy, and he passed while I was on my first assignment in Italy due to a massive stroke. So, but
Oh.
I will tell you that the only time I ever saw that tough old Corporal Herman West Sr. ever cry was the day he pinned those second lieutenant bars on my shoulders.
Oh,
So it's
that is awesome. And he's seeing you now. He's proud of you. Super proud. But that's awesome.
That is amazing. And we know we have not served, but we have so many friends who have served, and we know that it really is a family service, right?
yeah.
When you're off deploying, your wife's, back home taking care of all the kids in the household. And so just huge appreciation to your whole family for a very long and distinguished life of service.
But I gotta correct you, Cheryl.
Mm,
You and your husband are serving right now. I
well,
mean,
thank
people
you.
need to understand that part of being an American, serving your country doesn't mean you wear a uniform. Serving your
Mm,
country means that you believe and you understand the fundamentals and the principles and the foundations of this country, and you speak out and you get engaged and you try to better inform and better educate others as well. So you are serving the longest
mm.
running constitutional republic that the world has ever known. So never say that you never served. You may not have worn the uniform of the armed forces, but you are serving this country as an American, both of
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. And we feel
Good
that we're
job.
fighting. I mean, it's hard. It is. So thank you for
Well,
that.
thank you for that. I'm very humbled by that. I've got goosebumps. So I've never heard anybody articulate it that way before, but so appreciated. Our time is starting to wind down a little bit, but I do have to lean back in because you have had such a huge and distinguished resume. When I asked you for your bio, of course, I already knew some of it, but I'm like, how am I going to condense this into a lead in for a podcast?
Have a 2 hour show.
This is like one of the books on the back shelf here. But I'm curious, what is still on the bucket list? What do you feel like you still need to do before you head on home and see Dad?
I would like to go to Thermopylae, where the 300 Spartans stood against, the massive invading force of the Greeks,
Mm,
and Leonidas said "Molon lave," which means "come and
Mm.
take it," when they told him to lay down his weapons. Um, I've been able to jump into Normandy. I did that just last year. I've done that 3 times out of a C-47 that flew on D-Day. I've been to the Alamo. I've been to so many different battlefields in the country. I've been to Israel, but I would really love to go and stand there at that spot where, Leonidas, said to Xerxes, "We're not giving up our weapons," because I think that's the essence of what happened on April the 19th of 1775 when Captain John Parker and those 77 men stood against that regiment of redcoats, and they said, "We're not laying down our weapons."
So all that you've
Wonderful.
done, what's stopping you from doing that?
Time.
Go do it.
Time.
Go do it. Go do it. You know?
I'm gonna make it happen. I will.
Yes.
I will
We
make it
keep
happen.
booking him up for things, like podcasts and speaking
Yeah.
events.
Because you're still fighting too. You're still fighting. And
I
Amen.
have to.
yeah.
Amen to that. Well, as we just start to wind down, let's touch again on this big 10th anniversary gala
Mhm.
for the Second Amendment Institute. I'm so excited that the board members like yourself and Rob Manus and Tyler Izagari, who's our founder, all of us will be there. Obviously, we've got some amazing speakers that we're not even announcing all of those yet, so I'm going to tease that out a little bit. But can you give us the date and the place and all of that?
Sure.
What do we know about those
It's the
things?
it's the 10th of June. It'll be at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. You can go to SAI.org, Second Amendment Institute, and you can sign up to be a part of this. And we would really love to have your sponsorship. Definitely want to have you be a part of this. And there are airplanes that are flying, and you can land at Dulles or at Reagan National. Hopefully by then, the dumb Democrats, the party of the jackass, will pay the Homeland Security, and TSA will be able to get back to being fully staffed. Again, they prefer criminal illegal immigrants over hardworking Americans trying to keep us safe and secure. But please come join us. The Second Amendment Institute 10th Anniversary Gala in Washington, D.C., June the 10th of this year at the Heritage Foundation. And even so, please support us at the Second Amendment Institute.
That
Fantastic.
comment you just made is another hour show. Okay. So we're going to have you back on
I know.
because I agree with you 100%.
And I don't have like a kill switch or a beep button for him.
Oh,
So I'm like, okay, I'm pinching him under the table. Okay, hold on
I
to it,
think,
babe.
I think you and I
Don't
could
stay
get
off the
along
collision.
really
Thank you.
good. I really
Oh,
do. And
absolutely.
I'd love to have that conversation with you because she
And we
does sign me
shall
up.
next time. Next time.
That's awesome.
Guys will be kill switching me over here so you can have your conversation. All right. Well, thank you so much for all that you
My pleasure.
do. I'm excited that I'll get to see you on June 10th, if not before, and enjoy your travels. Have safe travels.
Thank
And
you.
we will talk to you soon. Colonel
God
Alan,
bless.
God
Thank
bless.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We have to have him on again because I need to talk to him.
I'm going to tell you, he is a hoot. And when he gets unfiltered and you get unfiltered, it could be a very interesting
Well,
conversation.
let's
So,
go. Let's go.
yeah, when then we'll be canceled probably forever and all time. But it might be worth it,
Yeah.
honestly, because, you know, he he speaks the truth.
Right.
You know what I mean? He speaks it tough. He doesn't, flower it up the way that I tend to. Um, and sometimes I think maybe that's to our detriment if we would just speak plainly.
The other side does. The other side just
I know
just
they
speaks
do.
out rude. They don't unfiltered, and we
Uneducated.
and we sit there and go, oh, we have to be kind and nice. You look at the stuff that's going on in Facebook. You look at that, and I make a 15-minute comment, and then I say, well, I better have it filtered by Cheryl. Cheryl looks at delete it all, delete it all. It's none of your business. Let them do what they got to do. Let them be them.
It
But
ends
it's
up
like,
being like a smiley face
yeah,
by the time we're done
right.
with it, right?
Somebody somewhere needs to stand up and say, what you're doing is wrong, and I'm going to stand up to it because listen to them.
Well, that is why I am so glad that we have voices like Lieutenant Colonel Alan West out there because he really, I mean, he has earned the right to say what he's going to say,
Oh, yeah.
right? He's not in the military anymore. He is just a concerned citizen who has lived multiple lives
And
in
he's seen
one.
other countries how they
He's
live
seen
too.
other countries. And so when he speaks, he just feels the empowerment, um, because he's earned it to just say, this is it, right? I'm not going to make it all pretty and flowery. And I really do respect that. I don't feel like the space that I occupy, I get to do that just yet. I'm still very much working to woo the other side or woo the people that are in an undecided mindset. But I think we need players on all areas
We do.
of the chessboard.
We do. And
And
we
so,
have to be courteous to other people too, because you never know when they may come up with a question that changes their ideas. If you block them, if you insult them, then they seem to lock up and that's it.
yeah.
Where I want to hear the conversations from the other side. I want to hear what people have to say.
Right. And so we try to keep the open-handedness. And when I go to Washington, D.C. with the Women for Gun Rights, and we meet with legislators, our senator here in Arizona, Senator Mark Kelly, he obviously is married to Gabby Giffords of the Giffords organization, which is very anti-gun. That feels like a conflict of interest that he is a senator. Like, how would I feel like I'm really going to be listened to? How I'm really going to be heard? But when I visit his office, they take my appointment, right? Our other senator, Gallegos, he does not take uh, our appointments. Um, and so Mark Kelly, his staff will sit down with us. Now, a staffer in his office probably shares his ideals right now, but this is a human being.
Right.
And then this human being is going to have a conversation with somebody from the other side. And if we're polite, if we are respectful, if we are intelligent, if we find the places where we do agree, which we agree on more than we realize because we all want to protect what we love. When we start there, it gives that person the opportunity to go home and talk to their friend group or talk around their family dinner table and go, I just had a really kind of like eye-opening
We're going to
experience.
call it weird experience.
Weird experience, right? Talking to this group of ladies that we very much disagree on a lot of things, but they were, we can humanize the conversation. And it's those areas when we can create that cognitive dissonance, the way that I do it and the way that you do it and the way that Lieutenant Colonel Alan West does it are going to be different. But
Right.
that I think is, what we're all hoping to do is to strike a chord, to create some curiosity in another person that they might just crack open their brain just a little bit.
Well, you're right. And sometimes, you want to try to have that open door so that you don't burn any bridges. But sometimes, and I'm going to make a t-shirt, it's going to say, sometimes you need to borrow Alan West's mother's belt. Just sometimes you need that, right? That's my t-shirt.
Yeah, I am of that era as well.
Right.
It's
And
like
so,
the wooden spoon,
right. So,
the
yeah,
the
for
leather belt.
sometimes.
It's like it
But I
instills a
do agree
certain
with you. If
reverence in
I
you.
go to one of my legislatures and I say smart remarks, it's what door is that going to open?
Right.
But if I can get them in there and say, hey, you know what? Why don't you just go shooting with me? Just bring your staff. Let's go shooting.
Yeah.
I promise we'll point the bullets downrange. Just let's go shooting. And you never know what door
You
you're going to
never
open. But
know.
if you go in there, oh, you're such a turd.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? They're going to block it up. You know how it is when somebody comes to you and approaches you on a conflict.
Yeah.
If they come to you with a conflict and they're hard on you,
Yeah.
you're going to defend yourself and you're going to block it.
Yeah.
Whereas if they come nice and, hey, I got this problem. Well, okay, you got a problem. What's your problem? And you have you can get these things resolved.
It's true, but we've seen actual whole families split down the
Yes,
middle over political issues and
way back to
ideas.
Confederacy time.
And yeah, the more I think about it, the more, we go to, is it in Epcot Center where we go into that America
Yeah.
building? I forget what the building is called. And we
Oh,
watch,
the one where I took all the Biden bubbleheads and turned them backwards Is that the one you're talking
Might have
about?
been the one.
Oh,
Anyway, there's this great show and it has animatronics and that,
yeah.
and they play, this song about, a family that one wore blue and one wore gray,
Right.
and, one stayed on the battlefield, because a bullet got him, and the other one came home, and it's very, you think about today that, families are splitting down the middle over these things, and
That's the Lincoln Meet Lincoln deal at Disneyland.
is that what it
Yeah.
is? I just forget the name of the
Yeah.
building. But anyway, it's so amazing. And if you go, definitely spend the
Right.
time. Take your children. We take our grandchildren every single time. And they always come away with some new question
Yeah.
about something in history. And anyway, and we take them to DC and we take them to the Arizona State Capitol. And we do all the things that our family can do to try to keep those conversations active and open because they're 6 and 11. And right now they're open and curious, but any minute now, one of them's going to hear something at school or from a friend or on the television that makes, it starts that, oh, it hit my heart.
Yeah.
And so now, yes, maybe guns are bad or maybe, you know,
I don't know. I think that
freedom's bad
our
or
two
something.
grandkids, when the teachers start talking that crap, they're going to say, "Oh no, sir, no, no, that's not true."
Point of order.
Right.
That's point of order.
I've been to the Capitol and I know how it works. That's what they're going to do, and that's
Well,
what we're
we hope.
teaching them to do. Right?
We hope. We hope.
Yeah.
We don't know, but we hope. We raised our daughter and gave her the opportunity to be whoever she was going to be. And
We might have went too far with her.
when we she does question authority.
Yeah.
We did teach her that. But we said if you want us to respect what you think, then all we ask is that you back it up with a why. What is your reason why you believe X, Y, or Z? And that really did guide a lot of our conversations. It helped me better articulate my why. And it was just a really rich thing. And, by the grace of God, she married somebody who understands and appreciates the Constitution. And hopefully we're raising the next generation then that
Yeah.
way. But we need to kind of start wrapping up. Thank you again so much to Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Um, he insists that we just refer to him as Alan, but I'm telling you, that man has earned
He earned it so much.
every letter of any title that he has. So,
But you also have to respect when he asks you to do something to do it.
mhm,
And but it was hard for me because he earned that title, but then he said, "No, just call me Alan," and you have to respect that.
absolutely. And he's so humble. But anyway, thank you so much, Alan, for all that you do and for being with us here today. Thank you to our amazing listeners all over the planet. Wherever there is internet, we have people who are hungry for these conversations and the content that we bring. And we so appreciate you. Your time is your most valuable commodity. And when you spend it with us, it's noticed, it's appreciated. So thank you for that. If you want to go back and listen to the audio only version of this, go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com.
And you
And
can binge listen to your heart's content, darling,
yes,
darling, darling.
on the on demand tab and on the guest tab, you can find links and bios to Colonel Alan West and all of the guests we've ever had on. And that is an ever growing database of subject matter experts. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that.
That's about 500 of them.
Well, there's more than 500 people because sometimes we interview two or three people at a time. But yeah, the fact that we've hit 500 episodes, let's high five on that, right? High 500. And so we also want to appreciate the organizations that support the work that we do and help fuel the work that we do. All the travel that we do for advocacy, all of that takes money. And of course, our sponsor, Pot of Gold. Dan's wearing our shirt today. You can lean over and show the logo, pogauctions.com, instead of his traditional red shirt that he usually has on. That
He's
fuels,
reminding me that I forgot to change.
this is true. But that helps fuel the work that we do, our own business. But these other organizations, I want to make you aware of them. So, first of all, we all walk around with cell phones. I mean, let's just be honest about that. Name the person who isn't of age yet, because our grandchildren, we're not about them having cell phones until it's, inevitable.
37 for
Yeah, 37. But we text on them, we take selfies on them, right?
No.
We call on them. Well, I take enough selfies for everybody. We call on these phones, and every month we send money to a provider, a cell provider. Is the cell provider you're sending money to on your side for your values? I'm going to say probably not, unless you are part of the Patriot Mobile family. So patriotmobile.com/GFR for Gun Freedom Radio. The Patriot Mobile is the only, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider that shares your values. You keep your number, you keep your phone, and you keep your values. So when you go there and you do patriotmobile.com/GFR, they've got some free goodies for you. And also we get a small portion of that to fuel the travel and the work that we do in our advocacy. And on the point of American made products on American soil, supporting American jobs is patriothousehold.com/GFR. This is an invitation only private shopping club, and this is your invitation. It is helping our family and millions of others to cut the cord on these huge corporations that use our own money to diminish our freedoms and liberties, from laundry soap to skincare to delicious snacks, even to hamburger and steaks through the Riverbend Ranch program. You will never regret moving to patriothousehold.com/GFR. High quality. You set your order online and, order as you need it, but I set it and forget it. It shows up on my porch, delivered right to me, fresh and wonderful. Great products I would buy even if I wasn't a part of this program. It's quality and convenience, patriothousehold.com/GFR. And finally, on our main website, gunfreedomradio.com, if you'll scroll down, you'll find a company there called Attorneys on Retainer. You need to make Attorneys on Retainer part of your preparedness plan. You've thought ahead to get training. You've thought ahead to carry the tools of self-defense. You've thought ahead to even carry tourniquets and tools of life-saving tools with you. This is part of that plan. If you do have to use any tool of self-defense, you will have the law visited upon you, and you will need an attorney on retainer. Click through there. We get a small portion of that, anything that when you become a member. And our family, in full disclosure, every adult member of our family is a member of Attorneys on Retainer, and it gives us so much peace of mind. All right, as we wrap up, I want to encourage everyone to what, Dan?
Pray for our nation.
What else?
Pray for our nation double, and also pray that we get out of this Iranian crap. And we need to pray for our lead. What are they called? Pray for the people we voted to represent us.
There you go. How about the ones we don't like?
Don't vote them in.
Well, maybe we need to pray especially for them. But let me just say this. Would you consider Alan West a leader?
Absolutely.
Okay. He has sat on Capitol Hill in the past.
Yep.
So, right?
Yeah.
So we do have people who are leaders and in leadership positions, and these are the people that we want to pray for.
Yes.
All right. Until...
I just threw a wrench in there, because what about the ones that aren't? What are the ones that are voted as leaders but aren't leaders?
Maybe we'll pray that
Do we have any of those?
they figure it out.
Can you admit we have some of those?
We have some of those.
A lot of them. If we didn't have them, our Constitution would be clean and straight. But we have a lot.
That's true.
Okay, so.
No argument there. All right. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.